Hi, this is Allison Makulik,
And hi, this is Hannah Bloking.
and welcome to another episode of Imposter Talks.
This is where we talk to professionals just like you about the ways that they're combating imposter syndrome in the workplace and in their personal lives. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Hannah Bloking.
Hi, I'm Allison Makulik, and this is another episode of Imposter Talks. This is going to be a full circle moment for Hannah and I when we introduce our guest today, just based on this world that we live in of pre-sales. Hannah, do you remember when we were on the same pre-sales team back in 2015 and 16?
Oh, that feels so long ago, but but yes, I do. I remember meeting you at a sales kickoff in, was it like Dallas? Where were we?
It was Atlanta.
Atlanta. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That was back in the day too when sales kickoffs were pretty fun.
Yeah.
Pretty fancy.
Yeah. We went out with our team, I think, until like 4 a.m. that night, and then like another full day of kickoff. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
But I was like also a lot younger, so I remember like going to the gym after that, back in the day. 4 kids.
Back in the day. So
Yeah.
tired. Yeah, I was telling you before we had the PreSales Collective DFW meetup last night, and I'm exhausted just from that because it was past my bedtime. Like, we're not old, we're just wiser, I'd like to say.
Yeah.
But
Values
our journey, yeah, exactly. Our journey in pre-sales is different, right? I still live in the pre-sales world. You are almost adjacent, I'd say.
Yeah, I've moved, and I think this is actually a common shift or one career path that I've seen a lot in pre-sales where I've moved into product management.
Yeah.
So it's been like really interesting, and I've seen a lot of pre-sales people make that move. Either stay on the pre-sales track, go into sales, or move into product. So that's the direction that I've currently taken. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, one thing that, we still talk about, we still are very active in the PreSales Collective, and we've done our Fight Your Imposter workshop for the PreSales Collective, I think 2 years ago. And so it's really just kind of kept us in this world. And that's why we're so excited for our guest today. We're going to introduce you to Jack Cochran. He is the general manager for the PreSales Collective. He has taken the reins and done amazing things, and we will talk all about that. But before that, Jack, go ahead and give us an introduction, who you are, how you got to where you are today.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, and I love being here, and yeah, as you mentioned, Jack Cochran, general manager of the PreSales Collective. How I got here is I never. So speaking of imposter, uh, I remember at first someone thinking when I was asked to consider the role, I'm like, yeah, but why are you talking to me? Clearly, you have a long line of people who'd be better suited for this role than me. So, but yeah, I've been here for the past few months, absolutely loving it. I've been in the pre-sale space for the past 10 years. This is actually now, if you think of now what I do is more of community management. This is now my third career. Before sales, I was actually spent 10 years being a customer, like being that business IT person deciding which software to buy for for the team, for the company. And so yeah, I'm really thrilled to be here and talk about imposter syndrome because all the times I have seen it throughout my career. Absolutely.
Wow. Well, I mean, obviously, you're such a prominent figure in our network of pre-sales professionals. So maybe just kind of taking a step back because imposter syndrome means something different. We found in so many different people, they interpret the word or the idea in different ways. So before we kind of dive into your experiences, can you just tell us what imposter syndrome, what does that mean to you?
Absolutely. How I have felt it has been that feeling that when at any point could be even after you've been doing something for 10 years where you feel like others around you believe you're not uh, you don't have the value or you don't have the qualifications to be doing what you're doing right now, and that if only people really knew that I'm not as qualified as they think I am, they're going to kick me out, they're going to laugh at me, they're going to whatever it might be, even if nothing happens, they'll know that I'm not the qualified person to be here. And so that's how I've seen it, both when I've been brand new to something as well as even when I've been in role for many years. That feeling of, I don't think I measure up to what everyone else thinks I measure up to.
Okay, so that's a good way to describe it. Last night at the Pre-Sales Collective event, we were talking about this because I was letting people know you were going to be on today. And one of the women said that she feels like someone's always going to say, "You're caught." And I was like, "Oh, that's so
Yeah.
aggressive." And she's like, "No, I feel it deep in my heart. Like someone's going to say, 'Busted, I caught you.'" And so,
Mhm.
have you ever felt that? Have you, like, stepping into this new role or anything that you've done in the past, have you ever felt that feeling?
That feeling creeps up on a weekly basis for me.
Weekly.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's a
Thanks for
great
being
way to say
vulnerable.
it. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
this is something that I have dealt with a lot in my life because I think from my perspective, something as well that I'm blessed with. I'm blessed with very good genes as far as aging, and everyone looks at me and makes assumptions about my age. It's been that way my entire career. I remember being uh, 12 to 15 years into my career and someone asking me if I was the latest college intern. And it's just so I always have this feeling in the back of my mind that one, everyone's assuming I'm not qualified because I don't have the years of experience that people assume I need, even though no one has ever said you need the number of years. I'm making the assumptions for myself just based upon feedback I've gotten at different times about that, or even when I know I am brand new and when someone else may have actually been more qualified, I internalize that to mean, well, that means I'm not qualified if someone else might be more qualified. So I have felt that constantly. Um, the difference is sort of the how much headspace do I actually give that when that feeling crops up. What do I exactly do with it? And that's what has been a journey of learning for me to get to the point where honestly, even though I hear that voice pop up maybe once a week, it's fine. That voice is going to
Yeah.
be there. I know how to handle it. I know where it's coming from, and I know that it can be dismissed as well. Which happy to talk about how I do that. But um, you asked about me moving into this role, and I can tell you very specifically, the first thought that I had was someone is going to look at me. People are going to look at me and think, well, they've not been involved he's not been involved in the community as long as I have, or he has not been a leader as long as I have. I only spent a couple years being a pre-sales leader before I moved into this role. I spent most of the rest of not most of yeah, the rest of my pre-sales career as an individual contributor. So what do I know about this if I've not spent the time being a leader? All the things that I started picking on, all those things could mean I'm not the right person for this job. So I definitely felt that, especially getting started here.
Yeah, I a couple of things that you said really resonated with me, particularly the looking young. I mean, of course, like I always wish that I looked younger or whatever, but like I'm also really short. So like sometimes that, especially now that we've gone back to the office, I'm like, oh, I'm just this like little short baby child walking around the office and people are like towering down over me. But there's also something else that I'm curious if this ever kind of impacts how you feel. Like similar to you, I'm now like 17 years into my career. But I think you and I have a similar background. We were chatting about it before we started, where I was a dance major. And it doesn't matter how much experience I've had or my litany of accomplishments or my resume, like I still in the back of my mind are like, but I was a dance major. And I'm curious if that resonates with you at all. Does that impact does that impact your imposter syndrome at all, your background? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah, it does. I came from a creative background as well. Actually, I think what you're hinting at here. I got a theater degree, and it's tough when you're comparing all the things that you do. When you start to let the voice have more than just a voice and get rid of it, when you start to give it a little bit of room, it starts to go, okay, well, here's all the reasons why you're going to get called out, you're going to get busted, is because you don't have a marketing degree and you're selling to marketers. That's a voice I've heard in my past. These are real voices, these are real experiences. Or your degree isn't in business, you didn't go through a sales process, you were a temp at your first job versus getting a job through some other means. I don't know, they all sound ridiculous when you say them out loud, and maybe that's part of the point, but but these are all things that I would start to feel that my background, especially the training that I got, oh, it's not the thing that someone who would be externally looking at is going to think is valuable for me. But what's actually been interesting about my creative background, and this is a little bit of the fighting against the voices in my head, is I actually have found that my degree in theater, the training that I got there, being able to present, speak, address people, understand people, read subtext, understand how nonverbal cues matter, that's been pretty valuable in my career. And actually, I believe prepares me a lot more than others who don't have a theater degree. And a lot of what I have found is that there are things in my past that while might not be the traditional path, there's something that someone would say, this makes me better than so and so, are things that have made me into the competent person that I am. And I can't strip away any of those. That's a big way that for me, I fight back going, yeah, I know I don't have that, but look at all these other things that I do have. All the experiences that I have, they make me maybe not the best or the most qualified, sure, but they make me very uniquely positioned to be where I'm at, where I'm going to do it very differently than anyone else. And that's the people that hired me, the people who support me, the people who honestly their opinion cares. That's exactly the reason why they put me in this role to begin with. And kind of living in that a little bit and kind of flipping the script on my mental person telling me I'm not good enough or going to be called out has been very helpful.
Hey everyone, does it sound like this is something that applies to you and you feel like you want actionable tips and tricks to be able to fight your imposter in the workplace? We have a workshop for you.
Yes, we do. And let me tell you, if you're looking to gain confidence and fight your inner imposter, if you want to expand your knowledge and ability to be vulnerable in the workplace, and you want to take actionable, ongoing takeaways and tactics, look no further than the Fight Your Imposter workshop.
We're going to get back to the show, but make sure you email us at 4under3.io to learn more.
I'm thinking back, Hannah, to do you remember when we interviewed Lissa? She's
Yeah.
an executive, and she was saying that the things that make her so different, she doesn't have a traditional background to be an executive. That is what makes her so strong, and she's learned
Yeah.
to lean into that. And I think about that a lot. Like I was thinking last night, I was talking about whys, and I of course I'm a woman, but like I can talk about whys because I was the only woman in a room of all men for years. And
Mm-hmm.
that sucked so bad. It was the worst feeling. It was the
Yeah.
worst. But I can bring that experience into this and like instant qualification because I never want to do that again. And it's kind of like taking your experiences and working with you versus against you. So when you're talking about your theater background, it's like, yeah, I don't have a business degree, but I have a billion other skills that I learned from being in the theater or dance or even how to control my body that's going to make me go that much further in front of a customer or on a presentation. And it's like you've learned, it sounds like, to really lean into that and use it to your advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. We all build up in our minds from something about what we think the ideal person in our job is. And maybe that is actually someone who you saw who did the job really well. And so you're like, okay, everything that person did, their entire background, their experience, the level of technical expertise they have, how well they can come up with creative ideas for a customer. We build that up as well. Clearly, that's what it takes to be good at this job. Well, no, that's what it took for them to be good at the job. That's what got them where they are, and nobody else's path honestly is going to be like that. And so as soon as we start to remove this and start to recognize the fact that what we've built up around the top person is just how we've seen someone else do it versus it being the way you have to do it, that's where you can start to explore your path and go, okay, I have gotten this far, I continue to be employable, I continue to be at this job that I'm at, or I've gotten to the jobs I've gotten to in the past based on my experiences. What about my past has been valuable in those situations, and start to recognize that it's entirely possible someone's going to be at some point looking to you, the things that you've done, and building up in their mind what they think is the ideal way to get there. We never stop to think about that, but that's a really important exercise to do, to realize that your unique path, the things that you've done, you suddenly take yourself from being this crowd of 5,000 people for a job to being you. You're the only person with your experiences applying for whatever job you're applying for, or being whatever job you're in, or whatever it is in life. You're the only person who can do that, who can be you based on your experience. We know this when it comes to, like, for example, our kids. We understand that for our kids, we're the only parent who can be the parent the way that we parent. but we forget in our work, we're the only person who can do our role the way we're doing it based upon who we are as well. And that is valuable in both scenarios.
And I think that maybe helps kind of explain how you've gotten to where you are, because to me, what you've just explained is that you've navigated ambiguity. You haven't had a clear path to how to get to wherever you were trying to go, or even knew exactly where you were trying to go. But then you got there and you were able to essentially make it repeatable and then share it so that you could scale it to other people, you know? So I don't know, I really appreciate that journey and think that just demonstrates why you were fit for leadership from the beginning. Maybe you just didn't feel that way when you were looking around you.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah. Well, all right. So we're kind of getting towards the end of our segment, but again, like really excited that you're here. I think our audience is going to be so excited to see a leader from the PreSales Collective joining and talking about their experience, especially because so many people are looking to PreSales Collective as a critical resource as they either accelerate in or even get started in their pre-sales career. So what would be that one thing that you would tell everyone? Just one thing if they're feeling like an imposter today and they're not sure if they can move forward.
The one thing I would say, my number one advice for fighting imposter syndrome is actually to fight against the urge to double down on how good you are and feel like you have to then puff out your chest and say I'm the best at this. See, instead, because how that tends to come across to other people is a sudden arrogance, and you don't want to be an arrogant person. You don't want to do that. Instead, what I would say, when you feel like you're an imposter, lean into the people that you work with, the people that you engage with, uh, and encourage them. It seems a little counterintuitive, but when I've had real strong, difficult imposter syndrome days, if I just focus on, okay, I today am just going to focus on highlighting and recognizing the good qualities that people have around me and how I can lift them up, you start to realize everyone has imposter syndrome in some way. And the more that you encourage others, the more that you are able to feel that sense of encouragement in yourself. Give it a try. I know it sounds like it won't work, but trust me, it has helped me on many days when I've had a hard day. It's just that encouragement to others can go a long way.
Well, that's why you're in charge, Jack, because we all need to hear it. And that needs to be the spirit of PreSales Collective. We're so happy you're here. We're so excited to go on this journey with you. Anyone who's listening, feel free to add questions for Jack or always reach him at the PreSales Collective. You are so active. I mean, you can literally just join LinkedIn and you'll see your face.
Yep.
Oh,
Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for just being honest and your vulnerability. We all really appreciate it. It's been a great episode.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in to another episode.
Yes, please like, subscribe on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, also on LinkedIn. Thanks so much.